Good morning. It's good to be back with you again. I want to deal with a question that was posed yesterday on my Peacemaker video. And the question is this: as a peacemaker and a child of God, how are we to reconcile these verses from Matthew 5 with not being a victim or becoming a victim of narcissistic abuse? You know, people are prone to take advantage of us. And the fact that we don't return evil for evil, can affect our health, can affect our mental well-being over time. So how do we deal with this paradox? What do we do here? Because Jesus is saying one thing and our well-being is screaming another, how do we reconcile all this? Well, the Bible actually gives us great tools to do that with, okay? And I'm going to show this to you. I'm going to read the scriptures again that are in question. Matthew 5, of course, verse 9, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. I didn't read the rest of this, but he also goes on and says, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Now, if you remember in the video, I also brought up in chapter 5, verse 25, which says, agree with thine adversaries quickly while thou art in the way with him, lest at any time thine adversary deliver thee the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Now, I didn't read the rest of these scriptures, but these were brought up as well in the discussion. And I appreciate Quiet Life for bringing this up to our attention, okay? These are some more verses. Need to be reconciled. Verse 38 of chapter 5 says, ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him also the other. And if any man will sue thee at law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asks thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away. Verse 43, ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them which curse you, do good to them that hate you, pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh the sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. All right, so we've got to reconcile these commands to be the peacemaker, to be the giver, to be the one that turns the cheek, goes the extra mile, yada, yada, yada. We've got to reconcile this with how do we then protect ourselves from narcissistic abuse and becoming the victim of narcissistic abuse or narcissistic rage or narcissistic tendencies. It's a very good question. And it's one I believe ought to be answered in every pulpit by every pastor. And it's a question that needs to be answered, especially in the day we live in, because this is extremely prevalent, this kind of abuse. Okay, so here we are. We're to be the peacemakers in every situation. Let me say this. Sometimes being the peacemaker actually demands that we remove ourselves from a situation. It doesn't mean we have to sit there and take it. Now, I'm going to show you this in a moment, how important this is. It says agree with your adversary. And folks, there's a time to do that. And there's a way to do that. And there's a place in the scripture where Jesus shows us a beautiful example of this. And he actually plays devil's advocate in doing so. I'm going to show that to you in a moment. This is fascinating. This is good stuff. If you like a deep Bible study, we're going off the deep end right here, okay? All right, because I love these kind of questions. Okay. Now, I want to get down here to the nuts and bolts of really what these are the examples Christ gives us in how to deal with toxic people and toxic situations. When he starts dealing with this idea of an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth, we're not to go there. Instead, we're to resist not evil. We're just to basically give in. But is he asking us to become a doormat? Is he asking us to just lay down everything we are, our entire being, our entire existence, to the whims of the narcissist or the wicked person? I'm going to answer that with an emphatic no. That's not what he's saying. Because there's a lot of questions that beg to be asked in these verses, and we're going to ask them. Okay. So, he starts off. He says, in this idea of resisting not evil, he says, if someone smites you on the right cheek, he says, turn to him the other also. Now, how many cheeks do you have? I don't know about you, but I only got two. I got one here and one here. So if someone smites me on the right cheek, he says, turn to him the left also. Offer this one to him. He's already got this one. Go ahead and offer him the other one. Now this is a test. This is a test for both of you. It's a test for you, and it's a test for the toxic person or the person involved in the smiting, whether he's toxic or not. He may have a good reason to smite you. Maybe you smart it off. Maybe he did it for no good reason at all. He just wanted to hit you. I don't know. We don't know the reason. See, that's a question we should ask. What was the reason behind it? It doesn't matter. The fact that he felt compelled to hit you, whether it was your fault or you deserved it or whatever, or you caused something to come about that initiated the blow, he says you should be willing to go ahead and give him this other one. Now, this is a test. First of all, it's a test of your character. Are you willing to go above and beyond and offer cheek number two? But the test doesn't stop there. You see, it also tests the other person. Is he willing to go for cheek number two? You see, he's already went for cheek number one. Is he willing to go for cheek number two? That's an important question. And the only way you can find that out is to offer it to him. Now, why is it important to offer it to him? Because you need to find out. Is he willing to go for cheek number two? Now, here's the kicker. Nowhere does Jesus say, okay, you give him cheek number two. Oh, he took advantage of cheek number two. How many more cheeks you got left? You don't have any more left, do you? You ran out of cheeks. You know what? When you run out of cheeks, you better get out of Dodge. Just saying. You ran out of cheeks. You've been tested. The other person has been tested. And if you run out of cheeks, folks, you ran out of options. The only option you have left is to get both of your cheeks out of harm's way. Okay? Nowhere are you obligated to go above and beyond that second cheek. Jesus didn't say offer him a third one. Well, you don't have a third one. He didn't say get on the ground and let him walk on you if he takes the second one. Didn't say that. He's silent. You see, everything beyond the second cheek is totally up to you what you do with it. Are you going to just lay there and give him the rest of yourself, your being? Just take it and walk over me? I'm a doormat? That's up to you. But I don't believe anywhere Jesus is saying, okay, you've given the second cheek, now you got to roll over. Don't believe that. Do you know there was times in Christ's ministry they wanted to stone him? And you know what Jesus did? He dove through the midst of them. He got out of harm's way. Now, how he did it, I don't know. I don't know if he disappeared and was translated from point A to point B, supernaturally. I don't know if he just found a way to work his way through the crowd and somehow snuck out. I don't know how he got out of there. But there was times in his ministry where they wanted to stone him. And no doubt, maybe some of them were starting to throw rocks. I don't know. But he knew that was in their intent, was to kill him. What did he do? It's not my time yet. He got out of harm's way. He took both of his cheeks and got out of there. So we have those examples of what Christ did in situations like this. Now let's go on. We're not to resist evil. He says, if any man sue thee at law and take thy coat, let him have your cloak also. What he's saying is, satisfy the man's demands. Go above and beyond the call of duty to do it. Now, he may have a good reason to sue you. Maybe you owe him something. I don't know. And if you do, and if he wins, because maybe you do owe a debt for whatever reason, don't just pay that debt. Go above and beyond what you owe the man and give a little extra. Let him know that you're truly sorry that you owe him whatever this is that he sued you over. And let him know you're willing to work it out and go above and beyond the call of duty. But this also begs another question. What about, I give him my coat and I was willing to give the cloak, the little extra above and beyond. Does he want the house too? Does he want the car? Does he want the bank account? Does he want what I got left? Does Jesus say I got to give him everything? Does he want the shirt on my back? Am I destined to live the rest of my life naked in the forest? Is that what I'm doomed to be? Jesus didn't say anything. Beyond the cloak, he doesn't say, and also give him X, Y, and Z. No. It's just a gesture of going above and beyond. That little extra to show, hey, I'm willing to make this work and make it right and make you satisfied. Okay. Jesus didn't say anything about anything beyond the cloak. What about the extra mile? Somebody asks you to go a mile, go twain. Go that extra mile with him. Begs a question. What about the third mile? What about the fourth mile, the fifth mile? Where do we stop? Where do we say, okay, I got to get off this train. I've got things I got to do. I can't keep going down this road with you. He says go above and beyond, do a little extra, go the extra mile. But listen, you don't have to live with that person on their journey. You don't have to take upon yourself their journey. He's saying go the way. If they ask you to go a little ways, go that way. And be willing to go a little extra. But he never says forfeit your job, your life, your career, your home life, your taking care of your duties. You forfeit all of that for this person the rest of your life. That's not what he's asking you to do. That's not what Jesus is saying. But this is what a narcissist will tell you. If you were a good Christian, you'd go the third mile. You would go the fourth, the fifth, the sixth mile. You would abandon your own identity and take upon yourself my identity. Oh, no. That's not what this is at all. That is not what Jesus is asking us to do. He is not telling you to abandon your identity, abandon your stuff, abandon your purpose, abandon all of your time, all of your empathy, all of your every part of your. He's not asking you to do that, okay? This is just simply the idea of going beyond and above the call of duty. Okay, all right. I'm getting a little worked up because we deal with this stuff all the time. We deal with it every day. So they compel us to go a mile, we go twain. But it doesn't say anything about third, fourth. Okay, we don't have to go there. So to him that asked thee, from him that would borrow of thee, turn not away. If they ask to borrow something, go ahead, let them have it. Now, what if they don't bring it back? Do you have to keep lending to them until you don't own anything and they have all your stuff? You see, if they borrow, listen, he uses the word borrow for a reason. He didn't say if they steal it from you. But this is where you're going to find it. You see, this is a test for you and them. Are you willing to loan it out? Are you willing to lend? There's a lot of people that won't lend because they'll say, well, I lent to so-and-so, but they never brought it back. Guess what? Don't lend to them again. If they ask you next time, say, oh, by the way, last time I let you borrow such and such, it's still at your house, or you still have it. Could I please have that back? I can't just keep lending you stuff and you just take it. You see, this tests their character as well as yours. You're willing to give. You're willing to lend. I know we're not to expect it back. We are to actually think, they might keep this, and am I willing to give it to them if by chance they don't give it back? Go ahead, let them have it. But We have locks on our door for a reason. And that's to keep people that aren't willing to give our stuff back out of the house. They don't have to come in and take and spoil everything we own. You know, the Bible calls that spoiling. When your adversary comes and takes your stuff and steals it, that's spoilage. The Bible deals with this. Boy, I like this. This is going to get good. It's going to be a little longer video than what you're normally used to. But I want to deal with this subject. I'm going to deal with it like almost like a teaching or a sermon, okay? All right. So, how do we reconcile this? Well, Jesus is going to do it himself. In just a couple chapters, he's going to say something incredibly important. Matthew 7, verse 6, give not that which is holy unto the dogs. Cast ye your pearls, neither cast ye your pearls, before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. Have you ever wondered why some people you can give to them, and the more you give to them, the more they turn and rend you and absolutely treat you like an animal or a worthless piece of trash? Have you ever wondered why they do that? It's because you're not dealing with human. You're dealing with dog. You're dealing with swine. You're dealing with a pig. And Jesus says, once you figure out what you're dealing with, and listen, Matthew 5 are the tests. Those are the tests to discover what kind of individual you're dealing with. But once you discover that you're not dealing with a human, you're dealing with a pig. You're not dealing with a human, you're dealing with a dog. Once you understand what you're dealing with, once they fail the test in Matthew 5, because the test isn't just for your own Christianity, it's for theirs too. He says, now, don't be giving your stuff to those people. Don't let them walk all over you. Don't cast your pearls before those kind of people, those swine. Because all they're going to do is turn and rend you. They're going to hurt you. You better get your stuff out of their harm's way. You better get yourself, your empathy, your goods, everything out of their way. Okay? Now, he goes on in Matthew 7, and he says this. I love this because he further explains himself. He is commissioning his disciples at this point, after the Sermon on the Mount. He's commissioning them into their ministries, and he gives them this command. He says, as ye go, preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Here it is. Here's the kingdom of heaven. Heal the sick, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely give. So here it is. Here's the kingdom of heaven. The things that you need, your healing, your deliverance, your well-being, your freedom. Here it is. It's given to you on a silver platter. This is the kingdom of heaven. We preach and we offer it to you. Here it is. He says, provide neither, but here's the tests. He said, provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither two coats. Remember, he said if somebody wanted your coat, you was to give them your cloak also. He's sending his disciples out with no money, no coats, or at least not two coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves, for the workman is worthy of his hire. The workman is worthy of his meat, which is his hire. And into whatsoever city or town ye shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till ye go thence. How do you inquire who's worthy? How do you find out who's worthy? The test is given to us in chapter 5. Find out who will hit you on cheek number 2. Find out who asks you to go the 3rd mile. Find out who doesn't want just your cloak. He wants the house, the farm, and the car. He wants it all. Find out who keeps trampling underfoot the pearls that you throw before them. Once you figure out who these people are, Jesus didn't say camp out on their doorstep until there's nothing left of you. Amen. He doesn't say that. Notice what he says. When you come into a house, salute it. Salute it. If the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. In other words, that peacekeeping he's talking about, that we deal with, If they're worthy of that, give it to them. If not, take it back to you. And whatsoever city, he says in verse number 14, shall not receive you nor hear your words. When you depart, that means get out of Dodge. Get out of harm's way. When you depart out of that city, shake off the dust of your feet. For verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable in the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. If they don't receive you, if they're trampling you, if they're treating you in a toxic manner, get your stuff out of there quickly. Just wash your feet of it. Move on. You're not under any obligation to be their doormat. You're not under any obligation to lay down and take their stuff. Okay. Now you can if you choose. Jesus chose the cross. He did lay his life down. He did allow the takers to take his life, but he chose to do that. But not always is that beneficial. There were times in Paul's ministry, right after his conversion, there was a time when he was in the city and they sought to kill him. And the Bible tells us that he was let down over the edge of the wall from the city and he escaped their hands in a basket. He was let down in a basket. And he got out of there and he went into the wilderness for 3 years and stayed out there. Got out of harm's way until all that smoke cleared. Folks, there's times you got to get out of the way of harm. There's times you got to run. I read about Lystra, Iconium, and other places where Paul ministered in the book of Acts. And there was times he had to just flee, get away, leave the city. Him and Silas and Philip and all had to run, get out of harm's way. They didn't stay there and allow themselves to be everybody's doormat or be murdered. Yes, there was a time these men did give their life for the gospel's sake. But until that time was fulfilled, they had a mission to do. They had work to do. And they couldn't go the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 8th mile with so-and-so. They went the 2nd mile and that was it. We got to go on and do our thing now. We have a ministry, a calling to fulfill. Okay. Matthew 15 and 22 says, behold, I love this. Remember, we don't cast our pearls before swine. We don't give that which is holy to the dogs. Remember, there's a litmus test to find out who's worthy and who's not. Now, notice what Jesus does in this scenario. Behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the coast and cried unto him, unto Jesus, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. Then his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she cries after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I'm not sent to the dogs, I'm sent to the sheep. And then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Boy, that's tough, ain't it? Jesus already knew this woman was a dog. And probably knew she was a taker. And there was probably a reason why her daughter had demons. These people are rough. They lived a rough life. They got some rough stuff going on at home. The young'uns got devils. Usually there's a reason behind that. Okay. She says, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. I agree with you. Now, remember Jesus said, agree with your adversaries while you be in the way with them. This woman probably didn't hear the Sermon on the Mount, but she's actually obeying this command that Jesus said way back there, that sermon, agree with your adversary quickly. In this situation, Jesus has become this woman's adversary because now Jesus is calling her a dog. Jesus is telling her, you're not worthy to have this deliverance, this healing, this miracle. You're not in a position to receive it. And I'm not going to give that which is holy to the dogs, because this is for the children of light, and so I'm not going to give it to you. And this woman, instead of arguing with him, instead of saying, But you don't know how great I am. You don't know how wonderful I am. You don't know how good you don't know my family line, my history. You don't know how big my ego is. Let me show you how big my ego is. Let me show you how great I am. I want to tell you right here, she had a death of her ego. And she did the unthinkable. She agreed with her adversary. And she said, you know what? You're right. I am a dog. You're right. There's probably reasons why my daughter has a devil at home. And it all has to do with me. It has to do with my dog status. I've not lived right. I ain't right. And everything about me is wrong. And everything you said is right. I can't argue with it. That got Jesus' attention. The tables turned. And Jesus all of a sudden saw something in this woman he rarely saw in his own people. He saw humility. He saw brokenness. He saw her coming to the realization of truth. And at that moment, Jesus marveled. And he says, woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee, even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. She couldn't believe the amount of faith she had enough faith to agree with every word he said. What you say is true, Lord. I'm not going to argue with it. So sometimes it pays to agree with your adversaries. Jesus shows it right here. But when it comes to dogs, are we always to give to the dog, give to the dog, give to the dog, support the dog? Well, Philippians chapter 3 verse 2 says, beware of dogs, beware of evil workers, beware of the concision. In other words, we are to be on guard. Do these tests. See if they'll hit the second cheek. See if they'll demand a third mile. See if they'll try to treat you like a doormat. See if they'll take the house, the car, and the bank account, and everything else you own, above and beyond the cloak. See what they're going to do. Test them. Beware of them. If you find out they're what they are, beware. Matthew 7:15 says, beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing. They wear a mask, don't they? The narcissist always wears that sheep's clothing, that mask. But inwardly, they are ravening wolves. You're not going to change what's inside because that's who they are. The mask is only good for a while, but you'll look beyond that eventually. You'll see, once they hit this cheek right here, they're not your brother. They're not sheep. Once they try to get you to go the third mile, that ain't your brother. Those aren't sheep. Those are wolves. Those are dogs. And notice every time the Bible talks about these people, a lot of times he uses them in connotation of animals, beasts. The end times is a beast system. It's a system of dogs. It's a system of animals running the show. We've got animals running Washington. They run the World Economic Forum. They run everything. They're animals. They're beasts. They're not human. These people are something other than human. They don't have empathy. They don't have God-given compassion and love. Okay, Matthew 7:16. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth forth not good fruit is hewn down and cast in the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. So it's do these tests. Find out what the fruit is. And if the fruit is, I want a third cheek, then you know what you're dealing with. Colossians 2:8, beware lest any man spoil you. I don't want the cloak also. I want the house, the car. I want everything you own. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. See, Christ came and gave. And if these people don't have that same attribute of giving, willing to give, reciprocate, love reciprocates back and forth. I give, you give. I take, you take. It's reciprocal. True love is reciprocal. But beware of the person that just wants. He takes and he spoils. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. And boy, these people can be extremely deceitful in how they manipulate you to get what they want. The Song of Solomon says, in verse 2 or chapter 2 verse 15, take us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vine, for our vines have tender grapes. Remember, these foxes, the dogs, they want your grapes. They want what's there. They want to spoil you. They want to take everything you have. They want to take what's on the vine. They want all of it. And they want to ruin it. And when they get done, there will be nothing left of value in your life. Luke chapter 13, I'm going to close with this. The same day there came certain of the Pharisees, saying unto him, get thee out, and depart thence, for Herod will kill you. Kill thee. Herod's going to kill you. Look, the Pharisees were trying to scare Christ because they were upset by all the miracles he was doing, all the good that he was doing. They were jealous. They were envious. They didn't like to see their power being weakened by this man who comes on the scene literally giving away everything, giving the farm to everybody. You know, he's feeding the multitudes, he's healing their sick, he's casting out their devils, he's doing wonderful miracles. He is just going above and beyond the call of duty. He is really showing up, the Pharisees and Sadducees. And so they say, hey, Herod's going to kill you if you don't quit. You know what Jesus looks at him and says? He says, you go and tell that fox, behold, I cast out devils, and I do cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I shall be perfected. In other words, you go tell that fox, that dog, you go tell your doggy friends that I'm not quitting until I'm perfected. I'm not giving up this ministry to make him happy or to make you happy. I'm not your doormat. And you go tell the dog I'm not his doormat either. You go tell him I don't owe him anything and he's not going to stop what I'm doing. You go tell that dog I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. Because I'm going to tell you, the dogs want you to stop what you're doing. They want you to quit your ministry. They want you to quit your love and empathy. They want to stop you, slow you down, keep you tied down to their whims and their wishes. Jesus said, you go tell that dog, that fox, ain't happening. I'm going to do some more miracles, not only today, I'm going to do some tomorrow too, just to rub it in. I'm going to keep being a good feller today and tomorrow, whether he likes it or not, whether you like it or not. And I'm going to be who and what I am because this is me. I'm going to be that tomorrow. I'm going to be that until I'm perfected in glory. Listen, you be who you are until you're perfected. We're not perfect yet, but that day's coming. And Jesus is telling him, you go tell the dogs, we're going to be what we are until we're perfected, until we leave this world. Hallelujah. I love you. I wanted to give that to you because you see now how this all works out. We're nobody's doormat. That's not what Jesus is teaching us. He's telling us to go above and beyond to keep the peace. Go above and beyond to be the kind of person that we need to be. But don't let these people spoil you. Don't let them ruin you. Don't let them stop you. You be who you are for this cause of Christ. And God will bless your life. And he'll continue to use you, not just to satisfy a few knotheads, but he'll use you to bless others that really deserve and need your help. Take care. Love you. Bye-bye.